Hey Levi,
Yes?
what is a workflow and why it's necessary at all in Jira?
Do you have time for a coffee break for that?
Yeah, why not? Let's go.
Workflows are a fundamental element of Jira. Everything is based on workflows, just like in real-life tasks. Every issue's behavior is clearly defined when selecting the project and the issue type. With this combination, the available input fields and the expected behavior are determined. Generic workflows come with Jira out of the box. When you're creating a project, you are just ready to go or can always customize if needed. A well-designed workflow provides flexibility to ensure your team can work without any unnecessary transitions, but it also restricts a few things. Questions that might come up regularly. Anyone start working on an issue in this project? Is it required to review or approve a task before closing it? Can we reopen an issue or should we create a new one? These questions are all answered by the workflow. There are two elements of the workflow: statuses and transitions. Statuses are visualized as rectangles with bold text inside by transitions or arrows with the text on them. Transitions are the possible ways from which an issue's following status can be selected, just like in graphs.
I want to know more details.
Let's start with statuses. Status is an issue state which describes what is going on with it. Is there something that's needed to be done? Is it waiting for something or finished already? The color of the status indicates the status category, where gray means to do, blue is in progress, and green is done. It is a common practice to create and use as few statuses as possible instance-wise. It is much easier to create cross-project reports when your on-hold status does not run under multiple names in different projects like on hold, waiting, stuck, and so on. Average workflow contains about 7 statuses. A typical workflow for a development issue in IT contains statuses such as open, in progress, in review, on hold, cancelled, resolved, and closed.
So I just need to add statuses and that's all.
It can be, but it can be so much more. Transitions have endless possibilities and settings. Let's see them in detail. A transition is how a piece of work can move between statuses. In order for an issue to move between two statuses, a transition must exist. A transition is a one-way link, so if an issue moves back and forth between two statuses, you need to create two transitions. By setting up a transition, the first thing you must consider is if the target status should be available globally from any status or not. There are workflows where all of the statuses can be reached globally. Typically, these projects don't require much control, but the flexibility to move from one status to another is a great starting point for small teams without strict processes. If you need to have more control over your process, you can set up transitions from and to status, where you can create a way to move forward. Ensure that your workflow does not contain any deadlocks and that every status can be reached at least one way.
Are there more possibilities with the transitions?
Yes, transitions are one of the most important settings in Jira. When setting up a transition, there are 3 main settings you need to be aware of: conditions, validators, and post functions. These are the key responsibilities for an administrator to set up basically any behavior in Jira Workflows. Conditions can prevent users from being able to execute a transition. There can be several built-in ways and many third-party apps to set up if a user is permitted to move the issue through the transition or not. Conditions can be grouped, and administrators can configure if all condition groups must be true or just some of them. Condition groups can also be combined to achieve layers of conditions. When a condition fails for a user on the given transition, the transition is not possible.
And how can admins prevent transitions in specific cases?
The most commonly used built-in options with examples are only assignee, when users can transition their own issues, only reporter, when a bug can only be closed by the reporter, user in project role, when only a developer can close a code review, or a value field, when issues escalation is only possible if the due date is within a week. 2 things can happen while moving through a transition. A screen can pop up, or validators may fail. While moving between statuses, pop-up screens can display extra input fields and a comment section. This is widely used with validators when you expect the user to enter new but valid information during the transition. When conditions are met for the transition by the given user, the next step is to evaluate validators. Validators can evaluate these fields in the middle of the transition. For example, if the budget field should be filled, a regular expression should be valid on a given field, the due date should be in the future, and so on. When a validator fails during the transition, red text highlights the root cause of the problem for the user and on the transition screen.
What happens after the validators pass?
When an issue reaches the target status, post functions are triggered. When conditions on validators pass and post functions are set, they are not optional, they are simply executed. Some of the most common post functions are assign to current user, it saves time when moving an issue to in progress status. Assign to reporter, when the request needs clarification. Update issue field, when using mathematically calculated fields or setting resolution. Trigger a webhook, when setting up integrations with other systems. Send customizable emails. With third-party apps, any content can be sent to any recipient.
Is there anything else I should know about?
There is a specific field called resolution. Jira considers that the life cycle of an issue has come to an end when the resolution field has a value. When an issue is in closed status, you must check the resolution, which can be negative like unresolved, duplicate or won't do, or positive like done, answered or fixed. This field is supposed to keep the number of statuses low while reporting the different type of resolutions. Also, when the resolution field is not unresolved, the issues become strike-through at many interfaces.
What if I want to extend the workflow functionality in a project?
There are many exceptional apps for adding extra workflow actions. Script Runner for Jira, Jira Misc Workflow Extension, Jira Workflow Toolbox, JSU Automation Suite for Jira Workflows, and more.
How do I quickly overview and control a workflow?
As a Jira user, and even for admins, it is quite a challenge to overview workflows for a project, especially in detail. Glass project documentation for Jira App helps you quickly overview project configurations and deep dive into workflows. Detect custom workflow actions in the blink of an eye and open transitions to quickly overview transition screens, conditions, validators and post functions, even without administrator permission.
Are there any best practices regarding the workflows?
Before implementing a Jira workflow, use a whiteboard and plan how your team works right now per issue type and decide if the result is something that you are happy with. In most cases, this is an excellent opportunity to spotlight unhandled cases in your old process and detect unclear responsibilities. Always use resolutions and don't forget to update their value. If the resolution field is not displayed on a resolve issue transition screen, make sure you always set it in a post function when moving into a status with done status category and clearing when moving back to an in progress or to do status category. For example, when opening an issue. Correct events should be fired in the post functions to make sure you send the expected emails. I will touch on this topic in a video later. This is all we could fill into a coffee break. Hope you enjoyed it and it cleared things up. We prepared lots of valuable content for you, find them via the link in the description below. And as always, don't be afraid to ask in the comments. See you in the next video.